Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Paper Records, Digitizing for Archiving and Compliance. And our guest speaker today are Vidyasagar P. He is the External Doc Solutions Mentor, and Sanjeev Arora. He is the Business Head and General Manager, Managed Print Solutions with WEB. Vidyasagar is Comp TIA US Certified Document Imaging Architect with over 2 decades of hardcore document management experience across Middle East, Europe, Africa, and India. In the year 2002, set up eDocument FZ LLC and have since implemented over 500 DMS projects. Names of few large implementations: MR Dubai, Emirates Airlines Dubai, ADNOC Abu Dhabi, Sharjah Municipality, Oxy Qatar, OLNG Oman, PDO Oman, Chamber of Commerce Abu Dhabi, World Bank Bulgaria, Karnataka, Gazetteer India, Kerala University India, and OPJ India. An active AIM professional and member of PDF Association and instrumental in developing the legal hold strategy for digitized documents utilizing the PDF-A framework. Sanjeev, our second speaker, has more than 18 years of experience in IT industry, currently responsible for business development, general management, product development, new business models, strategy, negotiation, costing, project management, team management, customer support structure development, marketing, brand development, brand management, and public relations. So, without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Vidyasagar.
Yeah. Good evening to you all. I will take you through the next 30-odd slides on how to digitize paper records into long-term digital deposits. The digitizing solution presented here is innovative and compliant with the global archiving standards. The overall presentation is divided into 3 sections. The first is the knowledge base on what is GCM records, how to take legal custody of records, the salient features of Indian IT Act for e-records, and the PDFA, the good form of creating a PDF. The second section is about our BPO activities for production level digitizing. And the last section is about our technology stack that we endorse, the Alfresco Community Edition. So let's start with understanding what is GCM within the records management solutions footprint. GCM stands for Governance and Compliance Management. Successful organizations have always relied on good governance, cutting across their businesses, across supplier governance, compliance, audit, all of the verticals embed good records management strategy. GCM Records is an essential records management program within this. The key program features within the records management program is for both electronic and physical. So legal hold custody, conformity to open source DMS, and PDFA, these are some of the key strategies within the records management program. GCM records will immensely benefit organizations who are subject to regulatory audits. In recent times, we have been seeing pharma companies have been under FDA scanners for failure to maintain dossiers, and GCM records is what they would need. Let's start by looking at what is legal hold custody in GCM records. So what is legal hold custody? To create authenticity, to embed retention and traceability while digitizing. All these done within the PDF document properties framework. What does the PDF document properties framework look like? Now that's a screenshot of the file document properties of a PDF. you would be able to see that there are sections, there are sockets into which you can drive authenticity, maintain retention. For example, the PDF document properties have something called created date, and then there is also the modified date. The created date to understand when the physical record got converted to an electronic file. The modified date should guarantee that it's not been changed since it's been crossed over. So these come under the authenticity and the retention part of the program. There is also the PDF producer. We will later on see the PDF producer authenticity. What does it actually do? Also, there is the traceability part. While creating a digitized document, it's important to also have some kind of traceability to the physical document. If the physical document is continuing to be stored, the positioning of the physical document where it is retained, or if it is the case of destruction in future, a claim that it would be destroyed in a couple of years' time, and then the electronic file will then replace it as original. This is the time when these kind of recordings have to be done within the PDF document properties. Now, it's also important to understand that there's a difference between PDF document properties and the file properties that one would see on the Windows desktop. What you see here is a screenshot from a file properties. Right-click on the file, and the properties would display something like this. Now, here too you have the created modified date. Windows probably originally intended to put this for authenticity part, but one can see here the creation date is much later than the modified date. So this is completely unreliable date stamps and hence cannot be used for authenticity. And that is exactly the reason why the PDF document properties have emerged as one of the very important aspects of legal hold parameters. To preserve this as evidence within the record for many years is a key requirement when one talks about legal hold custody. Of course, there is the technology obsolescence that should not affect the file that has been created. The authenticity and the retention should continue to be a part of the embedded program. And that is where the universal accessibility becomes a key requirement in preservation. PDF-A, which is a good form of PDF, has emerged as a universal standard for accessibility. We will be seeing a bit more about it in the later slides. Let's also take a look at the Indian Act 2000. What does it mandate? The use of authenticity, retention, traceability in electronic files is something that the Act requires it to contain. Now that's the section 65B of the Indian ID Act, which talks about creating authenticity. So creating authenticity is a part of a digitizing program. Here is a certificate that has been put in place, creating authenticity for a project record that has been digitized. Here we have information such as the document relevance, the PDF producer reference, that's where it's hard-coded to give reference to the particular document, estimated volume. These are part of the creation, the certificate creation procedure. A screenshot of probably one of the documents that's been digitized also put over here as an example. Below there is the terms that can be put into practice, where it says by this document the company hereby intends to send all dossiers into deep storage, packed in banker boxes with the clear titles after digitizing. The digitized records known as dossier e-records are evidenced by PDF-A document properties that we've seen earlier. Reference as illustrated in the picture above, that's a screenshot of the PDF document properties. The creation modified dates should always remain the same as the PDF producer within the document properties will also remain the same. Both of these are hard-coded and never to be altered under any circumstances. There is also a condition that the company will use the dossier e-records for all legal purposes from a certain date and is clear of all obligations to produce the physical documents. So this is a kind of certificate that needs to be put in practice before one embarks on a digitization strategy. And there is also the section 7 of IT Act which talks about retention. Retention means, first it starts with universal accessibility. A file that is created must be accessible through any kind of hardware, any kind of operating system, and it should display all the original characteristics without any distortions. Traceability and proof of no modification is also mandated by the Indian IT Act. Section 7 does that. So going back to the slide, The universal PDF-A is one such file format. We will be seeing, like I said in the later slides, what does PDF-A do, but it does meet with the demand of Indian IT Act. Now there is a very unfortunate situation that remains in the market where digitizing projects are undertaken with no reference to legal hold custody. This is not because of anything other than ignorance and lack of proper awareness. Looking at PDF-A, now what is PDF-A? First thing is PDF-A is for universal accessibility. It does work in all platforms and across all hardware devices. So what universal accessibility means, let's understand what is universal accessibility in terms of third-party understanding. It means being able to view the file and related document properties without any modifications in the exact manner it was originally created over many years and across all platforms. And most importantly, in a royalty-free manner. You pay no one to view that file. And that's a clear requirement of PDF-A. So PDF-A is this format of PDF and is known also as the global archiving standard. So PDF-A, what does it do? It's device independent. It has self-containment. Every single requirement of a document is self-contained within PDF, and it is self-documented. Self-documented as in it can contain information like who created, when it was created, has it been modified, and then of course things like the PDF produce a reference that says under what circumstances it was created. These kind of information can also be contained inside the PDF-A. How do you know your file is PDF-A? Let's take a look at one way of finding out. The Adobe Acrobat has a feature called the pre-flight. Using the pre-flight, it's possible to run the pre-flight check and have the Adobe Acrobat telling you whether the file is good enough for long-term retention usage. In this case, it's failed the test and gives you the reason for which it failed. So this is not a PDF-A file, although it is PDF. If it is a good PDF file, which is PDF-A, this is the kind of feedback the pre-flight inspection check would provide. In this case, it's fine. It would last the distance, maybe 100 years. There is also a simpler way of finding out whether the file that you are viewing, whether it's PDF-A. From Adobe Acrobat Reader, not Acrobat Reader, sorry, Adobe Reader 9.0 and later has the ability to detect PDF-A, and there is a blue ribbon that comes on top which says you are viewing the file in the PDF-A mode. This is a simple, easy way to know if your file is created to be PDF-A, which means cross-platform and will go the distance. Where can one learn about PDF-A? Well, we have Professor Google that gives you quite a bit of information. Just by typing PDF-A, what we see here is close to 69,000 crores hits are being found. If one needs professional training, there is also a game that provides the training on PDF-A. So there are professional places from where one can learn about PDF-A, a very important aspect of digitization. It's all these that enables creation of PDF-A for the governance, compliance, management. So let's take a look at how does one provide production level BPO service to create digital files for long-term deposits. These are divided into 4 stages within the BPO practice. They are done mostly on-site and off-site. There are reasons why part of it is done on-site and other parts are done off-site. We will see each of these, which of them can be done on-site economically and needs to be done off-site. Image and data processing stages generally are done as an off-site, mainly because it needs a IT BPO infrastructure, and that's an expensive proposition to build on a one-off basis on a project site. So let's take a look at each of these stages, how they come into play. Physical records acquisition. Now that is a process where a physical record is moved into the electronic format. So we have an open access storage scenario which is moved after scanning into a banker box deep storage. Generally this is not the way it is done, but a smart on-site setup is about moving from an open access storage into a banker box in a deep storage. What happens in between is scanning, which is quite a manual process, but there are methods through which the scanning can be given some intelligence for post-processing at the back end. So critical business records are streamlined and scanned into high quality images, generally as multi-page TIFF. The images are then forwarded from the on-site location to the off-site team for a proper audit check and then to carry out the indexing and conversion to PDF-A. So for indexing. The supervisor allocates the jobs and then image auditing are done in batches. Image quality consistency is checked. Often this is the process that is neglected, and an absence of image auditing team means the quality of the project is run at a very low level. When all the stages are required to be carried out on site, image auditing generally gets to get dropped, and because of the additional space requirement, manpower requirement, cost requirements. But this is a very important critical phase before it can be sent to the data entry team. The data entry team takes over from the image auditing team, and this is also called project backbone, because this is from where you create metadata that is good for search, that's good for legal hold custody, that's good for providing security across different kinds of records. Traceability to physical record is also a very important requirement, and that is put at the time of metadata creation. And last but most important is also about the analytics. Are there any missing documents in the list? And are there any very critical documents that need to be protected? These are information that are also acquired at this point during the indexing procedure. So once the indexing is done, it then is moved across as accepted images for PDF-A with legal hold. So PDF-A with legal hold is compiled. Now this is a finished file along with the database, but not good enough to be searched and stored. And that's where we bring in the technology platform Alfresco, into which the data and QC release is done, and that's an on-site process. Digitizing records moves into the online DMS system, and then as a last phase, and that is again an on-site process. The DMS, in this case, it's Alfresco, takes charge of the repository and database produced on the project. A typical DM digitizing task is divided over 6 different stages. One can see that indexing and the QC are the 2 very important stages, and together they are probably higher than the others. It's a very generic representation of the various tasks. Metadata indexing is crucial to satisfy the post-scanning requirements, which you've seen earlier. The post-scanning requires not only search, but also legal hold, traceability, security. All these have to be taken care of. The way to get these 2 right is to get them done offshore, because that's with the indexing being a manpower driven, QA/QC also being manpower driven. The good way to do it offshore. Quite an organization that does it have their own IT BPO setup. That's an overview of, in a year, quality being the primary requirement. What can be processed? 40 lakh pages can be processed in a year, consisting of about 10 to 12 people, where there is no compromise to the metadata requirements, there is no compromise to the quality process, and all the 10 stages within the process will be carried out in a systematic manner. It is important to understand that the client engagement is absolutely critical when one looks at quality job of digitizing. These are the technology part, the interface at the BPO center, where there's a split screen interface having one pane for data entry and the other is provided for fast processing. These are customized based on the business need, the kind of document that are being processed. This has a lot of backend service such as the OCR extract, the legal documentation. All that is done as a post-process within the application itself. These are defined using the template strategy for different kinds of records, what kind of legal procedure is being followed. Then we come down to the Alfresco, the technology platform. Web recommends Alfresco Community Edition for GCM Records Management Program. Now this is an open source DMS application with the highest Gartner rating since 2011. By investing in Alfresco Community Edition, what one is guaranteed of is a royalty-free application for life. Your records are in your safe hands, not in a proprietary platform where it could be pretty expensive as well. So let's take a look at the Alfresco screenshot, how it looks. That's a login screen of Alfresco, and that's a personal dashboard of the individual who's viewing the documents. That's a metadata fields that have been customized for search and retrieve. So that is a searched document which when opened up displays in this manner. What one can see on the right side is all the PDF document properties are visible. PDF, Alfresco C has its own PDF compliant image viewer that displays the PDF document properties box. Why is it important? You know that this is not an edited image and it's an original authenticated image. So that is the kind of feedback you can get immediately on the viewer itself. In terms of the architecture, Alfresco platform is a 3-tier web architecture. It can run on both on-premise and on the cloud. It synchronizes with Active Directory. It's got the relational database. It's got a splendid file storage architecture. And of course, at the client side, where one need to ad hoc scanning, it has the interface to provide for one-off ad hoc scanning other than the bulk scanning that comes from a back office process. Alfresco also has other modules to enhance the use of document management. What we've seen so far is the records management. It has the highest level of certification for records management, which is the DoD, Department of Defense standards. Document management is a platform for document lifecycle management, where Word and other related office documents can be produced and tracked through its lifecycle. It's got a collaborative platform and document workflow. These are, of course, additional modules that needs to be added onto the Alfresco technology platform. We are at the end of it. I'm willing to take any questions. Are there any? Yeah, they got 16 of them, 17. There's a question here. What are other alternatives? Someone has asked for as a question here. What are the other alternatives for Alfresco? Well, from a DMS platform, there are different products available in the marketplace. But if you're looking from a open source kind of a technology, Alfresco is a leader. There are other products like Knowledge Tree, but I'm not too sure about it. So we recommend Alfresco primarily because it's got a very high Gartner's rating. We have another question that says, can you talk a little on how to ensure the document has not been modified or tampered with? This has come from Vinod Sukumaran. So let me try and explain. If your question is how to ensure, the insurance has to come from the technology platform. Like in this case, Alfresco, security is provided there. So the security will ensure that the rights to edit, modify is not provided. So protecting is a technology requirement. But if there has been a fudging, it is possible from the PDFA properties to know that the document has been modified. So from a question point of view, to ensure the document has been modified, that's done by the technology platform. From a guarantee to know that it has been modified, PDFA would enable that part.
So Sanjeev and Vidyasagar, we are waiting for the question from our audience. Meanwhile, I request all our audience, if they have any question related to the topic, please share the same with us.
So we If anybody has a question, please come forward. Be happy to answer. Are there any questions on PDF A per se? Since this is open source, can we expect? There's another question from Mr. Abdul Kareem. Since this is an open source, can we expect full secured process from Alfresco? Yes. So Alfresco is an open source, but it's completely driven in a manner that gives the highest level of conformity. So the question whether it's fully a secure process, yes it is. I guess if you go to Google and check what the status of Alfresco, you would be able to get a good understanding. It's got a very high Gartner rating, probably in 2014 rated as the top 3, but that speaks for itself. I've also got another question from Manoj Lala. As Alfresco is freeware, how safe is it to use? I'm sorry, Alfresco is not a freeware. Alfresco is an open source. There is a difference between a freeware and open source. Open source products are driven by the community. Freeware, like the one you see with CNET, is use and throw. It has no ownership. There is no guarantee. That's not Alfresco. I got another question from Vinod Sukumaran. What about backups of the document? Is that out of the scope of platform? Should this be managed separately by the document managers? Well, backup is a part of the corporate strategy. So backup procedures would be put in place, and Alfresco would become an extension to the backup procedure. So I guess, yes, it is an external to Alfresco strategy to back up the data and the database, the records in the database. There's another question from Jayendran Kulkarni. Are there any analytics provided? If so, in what form? Graphs, charts, tabular, statistics? But I don't know what you actually want from the analytics. From a records management perspective, if one is looking for, let's say, missing document list, if there's already predefined document categories, yes, you can get the list of missing documents on a yearly basis. But I don't know, are there graphs and charts on tabular statistics on how it would be relevant to the records management program. But I guess it's got a database that you can run your own programs to bring out the required information in those patterns.
While we wait for the questions to come in from the audience, would you like to divulge any more information on the topic you were giving today?
Sorry, come again, I didn't get you.
While we wait for the questions to come in from the audience, from the attendees, would you like to provide some more inputs on the topic that we are giving today?
I can just refresh to say that what we covered today largely is to do with digitizing where governance and compliance is the key focus. So what do you mean by governance? To ensure that what has been digitized is secured over a long period of time, and secured as in if it needs to be produced in the code of law, it has all the authenticity and the retention program pre-embedded, and it's also capable of being demonstrated on a cross-platform basis over many, many years. We also stressed on the need for putting legal hold procedures in place, legal hold not just for electronic files that are being digitized, but also for physical documents that needs to be kept in safe custody, in deep storage, giving reference to where it is located. So legal hold is for both physical and electronic. They also work as backup for each other. So these are some of the critical aspects here, and of course production work of digitizing has somehow been misunderstood due to very low entry level barriers. It's been downgraded as a mere scan to a file format like TIFF or a JPEG or a PDF, but it's far more than that. It needs to be audited, it needs to be regulated, it needs to be seen from a business need, business requirements, where external audit, legal needs are taken care of. So digitization is not a very low level process, it's a process that would need to be taken care of in a way paperless office would finally exist because of the legal hold. So these are some of the points that I wanted to bring about in this presentation. I'm still waiting for some questions. There is one more question that's come from Mr. Vinod Sukumaran. What about backups of the document? Is that out of scope of the platform? Should this be managed separately by the document managers? Yeah, it's out of the scope of the platform, should be managed separately. This one, I will answer it actually. It's a repeat. It's about the analytics. I'm still waiting for some questions. Are there any more?
We are also waiting for the audience to post more questions. So we would request all the attendees who are listening in to post more questions if there are any. We will wait for 5 more minutes, and after that you can close the session. You can summarize the session, and we will close for the day if we get no questions.
Yeah, I have another question from Mr. Jayendra Kulkarni. Can we use any device of any make for documentation? which cloud platform you will prefer for storage. Can you use any device of any make for documentation? Not sure about the question, but if you're referring to a scanning device, yes, the make really doesn't matter as long as the capacity for the volumes are being met and for the size of the document. In terms of other hardware like the storage and the server, but I guess any server in the marketplace would do the job. Once again, you have to size it based on the volume and the user base. Which cloud platform you will prefer for storage? So in this case, we're talking about Alfresco Community Edition, which can run both on-premise and as a cloud. So the platform here is can be Alfresco itself run as a cloud application. So I don't know if I've answered the question, but I guess it's there, the answer. Any device of based on the sizing and Alfresco on the cloud, yes, it can go ahead. I've got another question from Swaminathan Miller. Is MICR a part of the operation? Well, MICR is more to do with the pitch scanning, and it's again external to Alfresco. Yes, it's a part of the, if the scanning device is properly equipped for Mica, yes, you can capture the data and pass it over to Alfresco. I've got another question from Milind Joshi. How strong is access control in Alfresco? Can we share the files with others with controls such as view only, no print, no copy? Yeah, it's Alfresco has got a very strong security system. You can provide document level security as in view contributor, no print, no copy. Once again, yes, you can govern that based on the security parameters. Mostly when you talk about no print, no copy, it's to do with the file level. So those kind of limitations are set up external to the Alfresco system. I've got another question here from Mr. Hemant. Are digital documents considered as legal evidence as per the Indian law? Yes, of course. Digital documents are definitely capable of being provided as legal evidence, provided you have created a document with sufficient legal hold procedure. Like in this presentation, I have demonstrated how you can create authenticity and retention, and PDFA being the global standard does exactly that. But you have to create it. If you haven't created, the courts would not be able to provide a decision based on the electronic file. But electronic file itself is capable of being presented as a legal evidence. Another question from Milind Joshi. How strong is audit log in Alfresco from access reporting such as view and modify, delete? Very strong. Alfresco provides that very well.
I think that's about with the questions. So if you would like, we can sum up the session for today. So any closing notes you can give right now, and we will close the session for today now.
I think I covered basically everything. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and the questions. Thank you so much.
And I'm really thankful to our guest speakers today for conducting this wonderful webinar with us. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgigs.com as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining us. We will close now. Thank you.
Thank you.